Welcome to The Good, the Bad, and the Music. And I am your host today, Bri.worek. The girls are officially taken over.
Absolutely.
I know. And I have with me my very dear friend from the hospital, Miss Brittany Reese.
Hello, everyone.
I know. Welcome
Happy to be here.
I know. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
This is so exciting. This is actually my first solo episode.
Okay.
I know, without Tyler. So far, the guests have been specifically with T.
Okay.
And so you're my inaugural guest.
I'm so happy to be here. And honored to be the inaugural guest.
I know. Well, and I wanted you on for a very specific reason. So I feel like with what Tyler and I both do in the music business is from very different angles.
Yeah.
And he is very much the front center performer person. And I love being that background person.
Yeah.
And in all of that, I love my background folks. And while you are still a performer in your own right, I feel like you have such a great perspective from that background angle as an actor. So while maybe seemingly unconventional, but we're going to weave it all in together as why I wanted you on.
Yeah.
So your background is actually in acting. But I know you from the hospital as a physical therapy assistant.
Yes.
And I remember the first time that we kind of interacted. And if the good people are watching on YouTube, obviously you can see Brittany. But I feel like your hair, which I know with someone with giant hair, sounds maybe crazy.
But what?
Yours is short, though.
It is, yeah, it's so short.
I know.
It's like little pixie, but I love your giant hair.
I appreciate that.
I love it so much.
But that's why I love yours, because I feel like you have to have a very certain style and like facial structure to pull off the little pixie haircut.
My personal theory is that anyone can pull off short hair. You have to find the right cut for your face. So for all the good people out there who've been dreaming of short hair, just find a good stylist. That's my personal belief, but yeah.
That was my bangs dream because, and I've been to many, many good hairstylists, but every time I would be like, what do you think about bangs? And I'm thinking like 70s Stevie Nicks. And most of the time they'd say, the maintenance of that can be kind of hard. But then when I moved to Nashville and the first stylist I went to was just all about it. She's like, are you cool with really crazy hair? I said, yes. I said, I am. As crazy as possible. Please, let's go. Let's do it.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
How long have you had the short pixie cut?
I have to do some math. I think I cut it off in like late 2018.
Oh, so a long time.
7 years, yeah. But it was like 6 years in the coming because my sister she's a designer and has a fantastic eye. And for years she was like, you need to cut your hair off. Because I used to have long, like waist length hair.
Really?
Yes. And I'm the kind of person where, like, I've got something and it works and I'm gonna just stick with it. I have never been like, I'm gonna dye it crazy colors or do crazy cuts or anything like that. And so yeah, she was like, you really should consider cutting it all off. And I was like, yeah, I'll consider it. But she wouldn't leave me alone about it. And then after 6 years, I was like, okay, I'll try it.
Interesting. I know so many artist types that have like a lot of tattoos, crazy hair colors. And as I look at you, bare armed, you don't have any. Do you have any tattoos?
No, I don't.
I don't have any either. I feel like we're so strange among artist types because growing up playing classical music in orchestras, especially back in the day, that was a thing. Like everyone had to look pretty much as uniform as possible. You were not allowed to dye your hair crazy colors.
Right.
I'm sure maybe the rules have changed since then. But as an actor, are there similar restrictions? Because I know you can wear wigs and you can disguise things and makeup and all of that. But
yeah, I would say so. I also have a background in dance and I started in ballet, which is still very much like the very straight-laced, clean look, everyone looks the same kind of vibe. So I definitely grew up with that from a dance side of things. I think in the acting world, things have shifted. I think it maybe used to be more that way, particularly with the classical type of acting training. But now really, I think it's kind of whatever you like. And, there's makeup to cover tattoos and there's also a whole movement of like people are people and like let's just let people look like people. So
right. Embrace them as they come. Yeah, it's definitely not as strict as it once was.
Definitely.
Yeah, and you're in your early 30s?
I am 30.
You were 30
Straight
even.
on the money.
Straight on the money. That's exciting. So we're not too far apart in age. I'm almost 39. But yeah, definitely growing up, it was different back in the day. I feel like it was a little bit more straight-laced. So you grew up in Tennessee?
No, I grew up in Texas, actually.
Texas. Okay. Where does your mom live?
My mom lives in Maine.
Your mom's in Maine?
It's a new development.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, she moved to Maine last year, but she's been dreaming of living in Maine for 40 years. So
Okay. For all the good people, I have very few bucket list items. I am obsessed with the show Murder, She Wrote.
Okay.
Random fun fact, which takes place in Maine.
Oh,
my giant bucket list item for most people will be like Paris, London. I want to take a train to Maine.
a train specifically.
Specifically a train. I'm talking like Cruella de Vil length cigarettes.
I love it.
Small martinis. Like I want to be wearing a fur.
I think that's great.
I want to go 20s train style. We're going to Maine.
Do you want to take the train from Nashville to Maine or like
I will
from
take it from anywhere.
Boston to Maine?
I don't even know.
It's like 2 hours. If you go from Boston, it's a lot better.
I was going to say, I don't know. I have no train experience.
Yeah.
But I would just love to take a train to Maine.
I think you should do that. And if you visit my mom, she would love to show you around. She's obsessed with Maine.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's sold.
Yeah.
It's been made. So how did you get to Nashville? What does your journey look like getting here?
So I grew up in Texas and I came to Nashville for school. And then after I graduated, I went to Boston and I did the acting artist thing in the theater world for a number of years. And then I left Boston. I was coming back to Nashville, but COVID happened. So I ended up back in Texas for a year. And then I came back to Nashville in, what was that, 2021. Yeah.
Gotcha. Because you went to Belmont. Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of our first interactions, which at the hospital, we have phones like that the hospital gives us that we communicate through.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing your name in the phone and we were probably having some exchange about a patient and you had little ballerina slippers by your name.
Yeah.
And that was my first clue. I was like, ooh, she could be my friend. Like I just instantly was like, oh, this person might be a little bit more artist-centric than some of the other therapists here.
Yes.
But also you approached me and were like, tell me about your voice business. I want to hear about this. And I'm like, oh, well, yes, let's have a conversation. And then we went out for coffee and you would always come to my music group too.
Yeah.
Whenever you would have the good fortune for all of us of working on the inpatient side and not an acute.
Yeah.
And that was always so enjoyable.
Yeah. I loved coming to the music groups. They're so great. And yeah, when I guess you maybe, I don't know how I figured out you did a lot of like the creative voice things as well, but
probably social media stalking.
Maybe. Yeah. I'm not really on social media, so who knows? Sometimes I reactivate my Facebook for Marketplace.
Oh, so will you actually like delete and then come back? Or do you mean like remove the app and then
No, like I
it?
will like deactivate the whole thing, like cannot access kind of thing.
Good for you. Any specific reason why?
It makes my brain is quieter without it, and I like that.
Factually, I feel like that is one of the hardest things. Running a business, being an artist, and Tyler and I talk about this all the time. That it feels like there's so much pressure to have that following, to create the content, to do all of that.
Yeah.
But simultaneously, you feel like you're feeding this beast.
Right.
Like this anxiety-riddled social media beast.
Yeah. I personally I believe deeply in deep thinking and long thinking, particularly in our creative lives, but also just in your normal life. But creatively, I think that the most rich things are going to come out of deep, long thought, and really sitting with ideas and seeing how deep you can dig around them and with them. And the thing about social media, and like, I don't want to demonize it because, you know, it is the world we live in, and it does have useful things. But
as these clips will soon appear on social media after we
Right.
film them.
Exactly. But it's when we're scrolling, it's all like bite-sized, brief things, and it changes the way that our brain is absorbing information, and it shortens all of those neural pathways in a way that then you have to like retrain yourself for deep thought. And so I decided for myself and my own well-being and creative life that was something I was going to step away from, and I don't know if I'll ever get it back or not, but
no, so good for you. I have a very good friend who's an OT at Duke in North Carolina, and she and I talk about that all the time. And when you have all of these neurocognitive disorders that as therapists we see, whether it's from stroke, TBI, whatever, and just by that disorder, your attention can be so easily fragmented.
Oh, absolutely.
And then even just the rest of us, I don't want to say quote unquote regular people, but you know what I mean, who have not gone through something traumatic such as that, we are basically setting ourselves up for failure to have the attention span of 6 seconds because it's designed for that quick moving on to the next. And I have definitely been on that Ferris wheel of you get kind of sucked in for a little bit too long.
Yeah.
And I will see the changes in my mood so specifically.
Oh, absolutely.
It can get so out of hand.
It so can. And one thing I have found, so I deleted social media back in 2020. And
safe.
Yeah. Safe. I was like really nuts. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to be done. And,
Safe.
but it's been, 5 years now. And I find like, at first you're like, oh, wow, things are quieter and things are, you have this euphoria almost of like, sometimes you need to detox a little bit and it can feel rough, but then you're like, oh, wow, this is great. But I would say that even the more time goes on, the more deeply I realize there's like deeper peace and more quiet. And I didn't know that there were that many layers to like go through. But I would say about once a year, there's like another layer of like, wow, I don't have it. And I'm really happy about it.
Do you, and I personally feel for the work that we do as therapists, and you said this to me the other day, there's that therapist side of being a therapist that, yes, whether you're speech, physical, occupational, but there's that mental part, regardless of what type of therapist that you are. And one thing that you and I also really connect over is talking to our patients, talking to our clients about those deep feeling types of things of going through a process. And not saying that others that we work with don't. I just know that when you and I talk, that seems to be like a forefront thing that stands out. But I feel like to be able to do that, to applaud you in your efforts, you have to be so balanced in yourself to be able to bring that out of another person. What does that process look like for you when you are going to work with someone that you know that they're going to have some really heavy baggage? Whether that's an actor, whether that's, the medical students you work with, which we'll get into too. What does that look like for you, like to prep yourself?
That's a really good question. I think one thing that I am and I have and am continuing to learn is that it's not one thing. It's a process of a lot of choices, small choices that add up to being able to do that kind of work in that kind of way. And it's also part of like living my life in an intentional way so that I can like have balance in my life. And then there are things that I do, to lead up to walking into the hospital every day, like mental, physical choices to prepare myself for that. Like in the way that an athlete warms up to do their sport. And then you go in and there are techniques that you have learned as an athlete to do the thing that you were trained to do. And then afterwards, there's like a cool down, right? And so it's just a number of choices that all add up for that. And this is like a silly thing, but one thing that helps me when I leave the hospital is I always take time to like clean off my phone and my name badge and my watch, and then I clean off the bottom of my shoes. And people always laugh at me for doing that. But hospital floors, for anybody who doesn't know, they're so gross.
I mean,
they're so gross. But it also just helps me mentally be like, okay, I'm cleaning off. I'm just taking a minute to like close this time for my day, and then I can walk away. And it also helps me feel a little bit better about getting in my car.
Right. The literal hygiene parts too, but I agree with you. It's like, okay, we've closed that chapter. I am a very empathetic person. And the more that I discover about myself, the more that I realize how, yes, that's a blessing. But if I do not control it appropriately, it is very hard for me in like a spiritual sense. Absolutely. And that's where sometimes something like the music group can be a little hard because there's so many personalities in front of me versus one-on-one conversation, just those one-on-one coaching or patient interactions, which are really my personal favorite. But between every patient, the thing that I've been doing lately is just literally either I say their name or their room number, and I kind of do this like, okay. And like, I'm just moving my hands and like I'm releasing them to be as fresh as possible going to the next. Another thing that I heard on another podcast from a motivational person, and he always knocks on a doorway before he enters it. Like even if it's just a casual situation. But notice how we do that in the hospital because you're supposed to, because you have to present yourself. And I thought that was such an amazing parallel as well, because even just that knocking motion and the sound, you're announcing yourself. It's like, okay, fresh slate. I'm on with this person now in this zone of time, in this space, in this zone of time.
I like that. Another thing, it was actually my mom is also in healthcare. And when I was a student and I started doing all these clinical rotations and seeing healthcare in a new way, I grew up going to the hospitals with my parents. But,
Sure.
Being the one going in the room and providing care for patients. And I was so distraught about the things that I was seeing and feeling like my entire purpose in being there is, yes, to do physical therapy, but really it's to connect with people and care for people. And I had a really specific, like, high standard for myself of like what that meant. And just checking out to protect myself was not going to work for me, but I didn't know how to like show up well and also go home well. And one thing that my mom had suggested, that she said has helped her is just visualizing like yourself covered in like a bubble of light that creates kind of a translucent barrier. It's not like putting up walls between you and the person, but it's like allowing yourself to just imagine that you're covered in light. So it's protective of you, but light is also like it moves, it's dynamic, and it can go out and reach that person and you can connect with them through this light. But it also allows you to just have just enough removal that you can like take a breath and go home a whole person.
I know there are healthcare workers that do this. And my background before I moved to Nashville, I worked in skilled nursing for 14 years. And I've definitely worked with other healthcare workers who, when a patient dies, a resident dies, they'll go to the funeral. They'll do. I cannot do that. I mean, God bless the ones that can handle that. If I went to the funeral of every single person I have ever treated that has passed away, because in the nursing home business, that's what happens.
A lot of them are going.
Exactly. I hate to say it's kind of the end of the road, but average nursing home stay tends to be about 2 years, and it's towards the end of your life. It's end of life care. So it's very different from what you and I do now in inpatient rehab. The purpose of that is for them to get better, go home, even if they're going somewhere else for more therapy. It's typically for them to get better and to go home. So there has to be some sort of barrier in figuring out that balance of I'm so with you, I'm so here for you 100%, and I'm so connected with you in this moment, but then also having a little bit of a shell where you can step back from that is so important. Do you find, and this is where we're going to weave it in for all of the musicians that are potentially listening, Do you find being an artist, whether it's musicians, acting, whatever, how do you feel like that translates to a character that you're playing? That attachment, detachment? How does that correlate? Because I feel like that has to be a piece because you're such an artist-centric person like me. I feel like that's why you're so good at that is because of that artist background.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is one of my favorite things to think about and talk about because I think, my background in acting and the arts is so much of why I feel like I can show up the way that I do at the hospital and in therapy settings, because as an actor, you learn, like an athlete, how to warm yourself up, how to prepare yourself mentally, emotionally, and physically to step into a role. And then you do the thing with the skills that you have learned. And then an important part of that is also de-rolling, stepping out, warming, cooling down at the end of a process, at the end of a rehearsal, at the end of a show, to put yourself back together in a whole way so that you can go home okay and leave the things on the stage that you need to. And so in acting training, there's really specific tools that you learn, just like you would as an athlete, of like, this is how you warm yourself up mentally and emotionally and physically. And this is how you step into things and step out of things. And it's all of that training that I leaned on when I went to the hospital and was just drowning, because
it feels like you're drowning. You've never done the work.
You're drowning. But one thing that I feel really passionate about and like burdens me is the way that healthcare workers that's not part of their training. No. I don't know any school, be it medical school, nursing school, PT, OT, ST, any of them.
We didn't have it.
That talk to you, except maybe like, oh, hey, like burnout is really prevalent in your field. Make sure to watch out for it.
Hey, by the way, you're like, oh, okay.
Cool.
Yeah. It's like when someone's like, oh, just calm down. Okay. Why didn't I think of that? Genius. Like it doesn't help.
Right. Well, there's no practical teaching that I have found in any kind of like standard way. Maybe there are pockets here and there, but across the board in general, it's just a lacking conversation. And I would love to see some of that change, because I look around at, healthcare workers, and there's a lot more conversation about it since COVID, but the burnout rates and the rate at which people in healthcare are suffering is really high.
And I feel like that's why we're seeing these low numbers of staffing. Being in a bigger city, I feel like here, from other places I've lived, it's a little bit better than some of the rural areas that I've been to, but even still, it's prevalent everywhere you go. And I know part of it is people trying to preserve their mental health. And I feel like since I started as a professional in my career as a therapist in 2011, fast forward to now, that entire journey up until the point I moved to Nashville.
Yeah.
I feel like some of my creation of the businesses that I've had has been me trying to not be a therapist. Like it's like I'm looking for every out.
Anything else, yeah.
Anything else short of feet pics. Like anything else that gets me out of that situation. Yeah. But what's crazy is that I can't turn that part off. Being a caregiver, being a therapist is such an innate and important part of me that I feel like I've wrestled with it for 14 years as far as how to make it make sense in my life and how to make it be balanced, because I thrive on it. I love it. But it has to be controlled so well for it to not drive me insane.
Yeah. Well, and for you, having done it for 14 years and you've been at bedside through all of that, correct?
Yes.
Hands-on. Yeah.
Yes.
Which is like, honestly, that's so much more than so many of the therapists that I even know. And like, I know so many that have, been at bedside for 3 years, and they're already like, maybe I should consider something else, because I definitely can't be doing this for my whole life. And I'm like, and this is not an unusual story that I hear.
It's not an unusual
you get
story.
out of school, you graduate, and 3 years in, you're like, oh, I can't do this. This is not sustainable for a career. So what other options do I have with this degree that I have,
spent
achieved. Yeah.
so much money, especially for the OTPT doctoral people coming out with hundreds of thousands of dollars potentially in student loan debt.
Right.
And when I came out, I had well over $100,000 in student loan debt. Paid it all off. It took me 7 years.
Congrats.
Thank
Well
you.
done.
And it was so much financial sacrifice, so much busting my ass, which if you want to curse on this podcast, totally permissible. It was so much denying of vacations and this and that and feeling like I really wasn't still an adult yet.
Yeah.
And all of that sacrifice cannot be just for, oh, well, I'm just not going to do this thing anymore.
Right.
Because you have such a high level of education in what you've done.
Right.
It feels like you have to do something with it. And the work that we do is so important.
It is.
And God's sakes, Britt, like I think if we were ever in that position, and you and I see so many young people near our age that, and it may not even be something like a stroke, a random tragic car accident.
Yeah.
I pray I have people that can show up balanced and well and taking care of themselves to be able to help me, that God forbid we would ever be in that situation.
Right.
Because it is so necessary. And the future of it is scary to me that if we don't have those people anymore, because everyone wants to be a YouTuber again, as I make this podcast for YouTube. But it's so important.
It is. It is. And I think it's really tragic, the rate at which people, like really wonderful healthcare providers, I won't even just say therapists, because nurses, doctors, etc., fill in the blank,
All of them.
they've done it for a few years and they're like, oh, I need to find a way out. And, 3 years is nothing compared to a whole career. And how are we burning people out so quickly? And yes, the system, all the things, and the government and blah, blah, blah. There are things to be fixed. That's a long-term fix. Those are long-term conversations to be had, and they should be had. And in the meantime, healthcare workers are suffering. And so how do we get them the tools they need to continue to show up well? And that's why I care about the education of, essentially like a warm up and cool down, and like how to be in the moment with people and still be okay.
And like you've been referencing this whole time, I think that's where your art background is so important, because it has given you those additional tools that a lot of our healthcare worker friends maybe do not have.
Absolutely.
And to step into a little bit more of the work that you do outside of the hospital as a creative, tell me a little bit more about what you do at Belmont, because I think that's fascinating.
Yeah. Belmont is kind of like a fun mix of the creative and scientific worlds that I live in. I currently work for, I'm going to see if I can remember all the words, the Center for Interprofessional Engagement and Simulation.
That's a mouthful.
Yes. So basically what I do is I help train actors to portray various illnesses, patient encounters with healthcare students. And so the med students, the nursing students, the PT, OT students will come in, and there will be like a simulated encounter where there will be a fake patient, like an actor that I've trained to portray some sort of case. And then the student gets to practice their bedside skills, their history taking skills, their physical exam skills, all the things that you would practice in a real life encounter, but it's simulated, so there's some safety, and you can kind of figure out what it feels like to do some hard things, like deliver bad news, or what it is to do an exam, like test the range of motion on a stranger's arm that you've never met before. So it's a fun combination of the science world and the creative world.
Every time you describe it, I always think specifically about the episode of Seinfeld. Have you seen this, where Kramer and Mickey, because they're actors and they do that. They have a job where they're doing the disease simulations for the medical students.
Yeah.
And I think it's gonorrhea. They're always fighting over like who gets gonorrhea. Like they or they want like cirrhosis, like they want the dramatic diseases that they're just really stepping into as actors.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And it's absolutely fantastic. Yeah. So as soon as you told me that, I was like, oh my God, like on Seinfeld.
kind of like that. Yeah.
I love it. That's fantastic. And I think that's just one of those things, though, that for medical professionals, until you've had those conversations, like there's no way to prepare for any of this. It's kind of like stage performance.
Yeah.
There's no way to prepare for any of it until you just go out and do it.
Yeah.
And whether I have a private client who is a Broadway singer or a Nashville musician, or they just want to do professional communication, I always think of things in character. And I always think of things as performance, because no matter what you're doing, even this now, as I'm the podcast host, this is a side of my personality that I'm not going to show in other instances. And it's not for the effort of being fake.
Yeah.
It's just different sides of your personality.
Sure.
And I thought of you being on this podcast so deeply whenever we were working with Margaret, who's one of our OT coworkers. And she's a fantastic singer. And when we were talking to Margaret about what was the play that she was auditioning for, their musical, what was it? I don't remember the title of it.
Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder.
Right. And I feel like she mentioned it, and you and I were just like, oh, well, yeah, well, that's what you're doing. We'll help you prepare. Like she hadn't even.
I know.
Like,
yes. I feel like we kindly bullied her into definitely auditioning.
We did. We ambushed her, and the two of you came over, and it was so fascinating to me because working with musical theater performers for the last several years, we're always talking about character. Yeah. We're talking about the emotion that you're putting into that performance. But I'm not an actor. I'm not a dancer. I don't have that expertise in movement and character the same way that you do. And I feel like every musical performer needs to have that to an extent, which is probably why there's no surprise you see so many like actor-musician crossovers. I mean, that makes sense, right? Yeah. But one thing that you were doing with Margaret, the physical things especially, when she was singing, and you were literally pulling her arms back and holding her, attempting to get more of an emotion out. And I thought that was fascinating. It like blew me away. I was like, this is like I'm like Michael Jackson eating the popcorn. I'm like, this is like a master class. Like it was so fun for me to just sit and watch because she already sings beautifully. I feel like I had no purpose of being there other than to just watch you guys because it was fascinating.
Well, I mean, you definitely had a purpose in being there. And I think her getting to work through things vocally with you was helpful. And it's good to just like get things in front of another human before you go to an audition. But yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot to be said for, the way our physical bodies affects our voice, affects our emotion, it's all on this feedback loop. And one thing that I'm really curious about and excited about in acting in the theater world is how we can use and change our bodies to then evoke other things. There's kind of two schools of thought if we're talking very, very broadly in the acting world, where some people approach from an intellectual, emotional place and allow that to come out and manifest physically. And then there's this school of thought where if you approach things physically and manipulate your body in certain ways, then that's going to then create like a mental emotional experience that will saturate. And I'm really curious about that physical outside towards the inward approach. And so when I was working with Margaret, the context of the song we talked about was about what was the song?
She was singing Moonfall.
Do you want to give context for people who may not know that?
Yeah, so it's very much in the same vein of a Phantom of the Opera, where you have this kind of, ingenue soprano and her teacher, I believe, right? Very Phantom of the Opera-esque. And it's that relationship of where the teacher's kind of unhealthily obsessed with the young female type of dynamic.
Yeah. So there's like, she was explaining the situation around this song, and what we came to is that there's this push-pull, right? She was like interested in him, but also like maybe he's kind of
We're a little creeped
and
out.
like there's this back and forth. And so
Yeah.
what I did for her physically is I had her stand and sing the song, and I kind of held her arms behind her back and created like a physical obstacle that she was having to fight against a little bit. And so I'm trying to pull on her as she's trying to pull away from my restraint, and that created like an internal experience, and it like changed the way her voice came out a little bit.
Yes.
And it was just a really simple exercise. Now, when you go to an audition, you can't be like, okay, and then here's my friend, she's gonna hold my
she's gonna
arms.
hold me back.
But
I mean, maybe.
maybe. I mean, you could try and see what they
the
say.
directors are into.
But what that does as an exercise is it allows you to have that experience of the physical restraint, feeling what that brings up, hearing what that does to your voice, and then that lives in your body, and you can return it to that and access that in an audition setting or a performance setting. But because you've gotten to play with and experience that in an exercise kind of way. You don't have to have that in practice, but it's a way to learn how to access that outside.
And to me, it's that authenticity. And Tyler and I talk about this a lot. And again, going back to social media, I, as a singer, get extremely sad whenever I see the super polished, perfectly pitched videos on social media, because you and I both know that's not how the human voice works. All of even like the face filters, like those to me are the things that make people human. I love live albums of musicians. Whenever I am showing a student a song, yes, we go back to the original recording, but also we look at it live.
Yeah.
And it's not that I think that people are lesser than for not replicating live what they do in the studio, because with any performer, there's going to be a limitation.
Absolutely.
That, oh, this is my 7th run of this show this week.
Right.
Or I perform for 3 hours at a time on Broadway.
Yeah.
And even some of the greats. Tyler and I were looking at a Freddie Mercury video, and they were doing Another One Bites the Dust. And it's quite a high range song. And we watched Freddie Mercury doing it live. He wasn't doing all of the notes that he does in the live recording, and it's not to take anything away from him.
Yeah.
It's what is reasonable and expected for our bodies to actually be able to physically do.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that authenticity of hearing a little bit of a crack, of hearing a little bit of a strain or a wanting or a longing, and especially someone like Margaret, and her voice is bananas amazing, but from that very legit soprano, clean, classical stance. We try to keep it as pretty, for lack of a better word, as possible. But putting in that acting piece, and yes, the desperation and the heaviness and and I mean, just all the dynamic changes that I wasn't even necessarily thinking about in the way that your acting brain was, but how that folds back in for performers, I thought was extremely powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think you put it really well. And that's what's fun to me, figuring out how to layer those things in, acting the song, if you will, for even just musical theater kids or musical theater professionals. It changes everything. And I love when I or someone can go in and help singers do that. And, some of them are trained to do that themselves, and great. I love to see it. But it does make all the difference.
And I feel like every singer, even if you're not playing a literal character from a musical theater perspective, every character to me it's a character. Like it doesn't matter if you're a Broadway singer. like on like Nashville Broadway singer.
Yeah.
That is the character. You are the Nashville Broadway singer, and even that has a certain energy to it. And when Tyler and his band perform every Monday night at Nudies, they have a live stream, and I'll watch it oftentimes because that's my Friday from the hospital because I finish working Monday nights, and it's been interesting to talk to him about the evolution of even his movement. And at first trying to find his footing of, okay, we're new in town. I'm singing with this band. I don't quite have my flow yet playing with these guys. But as that's changed and evolved and improved, he has more authoritative stances. And I love it when he's like pointing or he's coming forward in the crowd. And even oftentimes, and we'll kind of joke about this a little bit, but he's been wearing sunglasses because I feel like that gives him a little bit more of, okay, just like when we put on our scrubs, we put on our name badge at the hospital, that uniform mentality, like a costume almost, has been such a strong piece of it. And I'll tell my musical theater students that all the time if they're going into an audition, what's something that you wear, even if it's not a quote unquote costume? What is the thing that you wear? What's the attitude you're bringing? And we're talking about all of those pieces too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's all part of it. And, that's like preparing yourself as a performer, as an artist, but also thinking about, these songs that we're singing, even if they're not from a show with a cohesive narrative, storyline, that song is saying something. That song is telling a story. And whoever wrote it for a reason to say something. And so whether or not you know what the original intent is, like we're creatives and we're all storytellers. And so connecting to what it is that you're saying and the story that you're telling through each individual song and really figuring that out for yourself. And as you perform that, being connected to that is going to change how you perform it as well. Even if it's just a set without a narrative.
So when you're about to go on stage, regardless if it's dance, acting, even if it's into a physical therapy session, I feel like everything about life is a stage, depending upon how you want to look at it.
All the world's a stage.
It is, literally. So before you step into that, it's like, okay, you're behind the curtain, the foot crosses that threshold. Where's your head at that time? Are you nervous? Does it depend on what the situation is? Like, where's your head at that moment?
I think, first I'll say, I don't know, everyone's going to have nerves to some degree at some point. But I really believe in the power of the preparation, not only throughout the rehearsal process, but also the warm up on the day of. And, people talk often, they make a lot of comments to actors about like, oh, I can't believe you memorize all those lines. And sure, that's a skill and a muscle to be learned. But memorizing lines is really just part one. And then you move from that and then you learn how to develop character and how to live in the character. And you use all these other tools. Memorization is just a teeny tiny piece.
Wow.
And so I think if you've really prepared and you've done the work that you need to do to come to this point where you're stepping onto stage, and you've also done what you need to do on the day of, you show up at the theater early and you warm up and you do the things you need to do to prepare. In theory, I think often just stepping onto stage is just, then you get to go have fun. If you've prepared and done what you need to do, and you're thinking about, really, I think for me, it all just comes back to being really embodied and in your body. And then you can be really present. And then the preparation takes care of itself. The work that you've done takes care of itself. But if you can really get yourself to a place where you are in your body and you are fully present, then you just get to go enjoy it.
I feel like that presence of mind is so important. And it doesn't matter what I do. As soon as I'm stepping into whatever that face of the character is at the time, even if I'm going to the gym and I'm like, no, I'm on the treadmill and I'm running. And I get this game face, right? I listen to certain music. I feel like there's always this switch in me that flips. And when I lived in North Carolina, and I would be in the nursing home for 6, 7, 8 hours sometimes. And then I would teach my private students 4, 5 more hours plus that.
Yeah.
And there would be times where I would be in the bathroom or in my office, and I would even look at Tyler and I would go, I don't know how I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to go teach 8 students and be 100% for them right now. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But then there's something reactive, and I'm sure there's something woo-woo behind this. I don't know what it is. I haven't figured out the words yet. But as soon as I'm just in the presence of the energy of another, I just go flip. And it's like I've turned on. But then as soon as they leave, I'm like, okay. And it just power down.
Yeah.
Just power down.
Yeah.
And I don't spend as much time on an actual stage anymore, like maybe I did in my younger days when I performed more. And I'd be curious. There's part of me that is curious to perform again because I feel like my mindset about it would be so much different than when I was in my 20s, because I feel like that control over flipping that switch, regardless of the art form, is important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the more life that we live, and quite honestly, the more things that we experience, not just getting older, but, being a therapist and working in the hospitals and the skilled nursing facilities, like all of that is useful and all of that is growing and learning. And I think if you were to go back to stage now, it would be a totally different experience in a really cool way, because all of that you hit, all of the things you've lived and the ways that you've grown are going to come with you into that experience. And I imagine it would be really cool for you.
Yeah, maybe one day. Who knows? Who knows? I struggle to do both things. I struggle to be behind the scenes and in front. And Tyler is very much in front. And I'm very much behind. And I enjoy that supportive role because I feel like my educational path kind of leans to that anyway.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's just something about the presence of art, the presence of music, and being in that, that it doesn't matter if I'm on stage, if I'm behind the scenes, I'm working with a person. That just exchange of energy either way
Absolutely
feels good to me.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's all just connecting with other humans. And whether you do that with an audience or behind the stage, it's just about connecting with people, I think.
Are you ever in the capacity of working privately with singers, like from a movement perspective?
I absolutely would. Yeah, I've done some. I haven't done a lot of work specifically with singers. I have done some, but I have worked with actors privately on physical things, and I would be happy to work with singers. Yeah. My background is not in singing, so please do not call me to coach your songs.
Right,
From a vocal perspective, you can call Bri.
Yeah.
But from a physical perspective, absolutely, I would love to do that.
But I feel like that's where it's very interesting how whatever your background is, there's that space for everybody. Because when I moved to Nashville, part of my fear living in North Carolina, because we lived in a pretty small town of maybe 30,000 people, my fear was I only successful in North Carolina because I was the only choice? But moving here, I have definitely realized that there is still the space to have my own unique area of practice.
Absolutely.
And I have a few new clients now who've worked with other vocal coaches, and it's not by no means to talk negatively about any other vocal coach, but my perspective is just so different.
Right.
Because I approach it as a therapist.
Right.
I lean a little bit more into if someone is experiencing a voice problem. I don't really need to teach people here how to sing, quote unquote. Like they can do that. Like they understand scales, they understand music already. It's not like working with children or teenagers where they're a lot less educated.
Right.
I've found that the people that I'm getting here as clientele have maybe already worked with several other vocal coaches. They're like, yeah, I've learned the scales, I've learned the warm-ups, I've learned the things.
Right.
But I'm performing more heavily now. I'm experiencing strain of some kind.
Right.
I need something else.
Right.
I've learned that I am the something else.
Yeah.
And I feel like you are also maybe the something else. I know, I feel like this is like a shameless plug for your own private services or
Oh my
something, right?
gosh.
But I feel like you could be that something else, because when I think of the conversations I've had with Tyler, because yeah, I'm looking at it from a stage performance perspective, but your angle on that is so wildly different.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. In general, I just feel so curious and excited about ways that different, not even just art forms, yes, different art forms, but also like science and art and like different seeming spheres and conversations can start to have conversations with each other. And that just feels so exciting to me, because I think that there's always tools and things and ideas and ways of learning and thinking and going about things from something else that seems completely unrelated.
Yes.
It can inform what you do, and how they can all work together.
It's the holistic angle. It is. And the client that I'm working with now, that we're dealing much more with language, motor planning type of issues, secondary to stroke recovery, and manual therapy, which is very much in the physical therapy bucket, that I've recently been taking some coursework on, because it's in the speech therapy bucket too, but laying hands on physically is so not so much a speech therapy thing. Like we just don't learn about it much, but there are 100% applications, much more for physical therapists. I feel like you're moving people, you're moving body parts, you're lifting, you're so much more in their face than the speech therapist is. But as I'm doing these more physical manipulations with the laryngeal process and hands-on for breathing and all of that with my new clientele, I am amazed, not just in the results that we're seeing, but in the connectivity they feel.
Absolutely.
And I asked one of my clients yesterday in a very innocent type of way, like, are you a person who just appreciates being touched? Like, I mean, going to the dentist and being touched, whether it's actual massage, a hug from your mother.
Right.
And I feel like that is something in our society too that can be so lacking. That even just when I lay my hands on one of my clients and around that like throat chakra area, around their respiratory area, it has been so transformative. And it's one of those things that I don't necessarily have the exact data, the exact numbers. Is it trigger point? Is it myofascial? Is it this? Is it that? I kind of don't know. And the coursework that I've taken that has said, you don't always need to know the answer.
Right.
If it has worked for someone, that's all you need.
Yeah.
And that was so eye-opening to me. And it's not that I've gotten rid of the absolute evidence-based practice speech therapy. Like, that'll never go away, right? It's all rooted in that.
Right.
Because we're not dealing out hocus pocus either.
Right.
But at the same time, there has been something so powerful about talking about movement, talking about touch, that from a speech therapy perspective has been blowing my mind.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's so much power in touch. And yes, whether it's going to the dentist or the physical therapist or, anything, like in a really broad, philosophical, like cosmic way, like humans making physical contact with other humans is not a small thing. And we treat it really casually often. And, but there's so much that can be communicated through touch. And I'm very curious about those types of conversations and the quality of touch, the intention behind touch, everything that comes with physical contact in a variety of ways, and what that can do for a person and what that means, and potentially really healing and feeling safe or not, the way that, I think about all the time at the hospital. I go into people's rooms and I get them out of bed, and I'm usually the one like pulling the covers off of them and like helping them out of the bed that they're laying in. And that's like such a like weirdly intimate thing to do with a stranger.
It is.
But the way that you physically make that contact and the way that you help someone do that is going to completely change the experience in any type of way. It depends how you do it. It can be really safe. It can feel really helpful. It can feel really comforting, or it could be the exact opposite in every single way. But it's going to depend how I facilitate that touch and communication and all the other things. But touch is going to have so much to do with it.
Yeah. And once you've built rapport with someone, I think that makes it easier. You and I, though, because we're at the hospital, we have specific teams, and you're a per diem therapist. I'm full time, but I'm there Friday to Monday.
Yeah.
So neither of us are on these regular teams. We have a lot more infrequent interactions with patients. So for us, we might only see that person a couple of times.
Or once.
Yeah, or once. I mean,
most of the people I see one time.
Right, truly. So for my clients that are coming to my office here, where we've had that rapport, I've worked with them for several weeks. And even in that case, if I'm putting my hands on their neck and I ask them, does this feel safe? Is this uncomfortable? If on a scale of 1 to 10, how much pressure does this feel like?
Yeah.
Because my 10 might feel like someone's 1 or vice versa.
Right.
We never know those things.
Right.
And it's keeping that conversation going as far as, well, what is helpful? And I'm to the point now, if it takes us standing on our heads to find a solution for that person, I think that that's part of that comfort level too, is that people just want to know that even if you don't have the answer today, you're invested in finding it out some way, somehow, eventually.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what builds good rapport and like helps people feel safe. Right. And again, that then comes back to just connecting with people and showing up for them.
Yeah. It's so funny to me. I don't want to say how awkward. What's the word I want to use? Maybe it is awkward. But how many brilliant people do you know, whether it be therapists, actors, whatever, but their social acuity is just pits. Like they, you know what I'm saying? Like they just, like their ability to like read a room or like there's so much skill within that that I feel like even that is an art form in and of itself.
Absolutely.
I feel like I'm a way better evaluator in the way of like reading energy, which is why I feel like I struggle in large groups, because I'm like, duh, too much sensory, too much like information of personalities coming to me. But I feel like that in and of itself is art form when you're looking at someone's body language.
Absolutely.
When you're looking at how they move through the world.
Yeah.
And tapering your own personality as to how you're going to interact with that as well. And possibly in that acting way.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I think that's so much of what you do learn in acting is being aware of those things in your own self and also in your scene partner and making choices based on that, whether you keep it or change it or get rid of it or etc. But yeah, there's so much skill. And honestly, I find I guess a higher rate of people who have those skills they're in the arts worlds. And are we surprised?
No, it's like those are those sensitive personalities, right? I don't think I could be with someone who's not an artist. I really don't. And that's where Tyler and I mesh really well, because he's way more on the art side and I'm way more on the science side. But I do have that strong art side, so he brings that out of me a lot more. And I feel like it's just so helpful in so many ways. But I want to talk a little bit about the work that you're doing with your partner, Kristen, right?
Yes, my creative partner.
Your creative partner.
Yeah.
As far as the show that you're preparing for, that you have coming up, that I would love to attend the auditions of and have not been able based on my own schedule. That's my own shamefulness. And this is why I used to always say, like, I struggle to keep female clients, because I am that female client that like can't commit, that's too busy, that's doing too many things. Like that's
stuff going on.
It's just such a woman trait, man. But you and Kristen are doing it. But like, let's dive into that a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think it's fascinating.
So this particular project is, so Kristen and I are like creative partners. We've been friends for a really long time. And we direct together and write shows together, and do a lot of our creative work in tandem. But we were actually approached by another friend who is wonderful. Her name is Lana, and she recently received a grant for exploring materiality and our relationships to objects, things, and how those relationships are built, the way that it ties to memory, the way that those things, the memories and the attachments can be passed down through generations, and really just exploring that conversation about our relationship to material things and how that's formed and how that changes over time and what happens after we're gone. And, there's no one around to tell the story of that locket that you got on, from your grandmother who, married her husband in the middle of the war, whatever it is. And so we have been exploring those conversations and methods of devising, which is like creating theater. Devising is a very broad term, and it can mean 1,000 things to 1,000 people, but we work in a very movement-based way. And so we have been working around these ideas around objects and grief and lineage, and hosting workshops for people, some just colleagues to come and play and help us explore these ideas. And then next month we're going to go into rehearsals to actually build a show. And so it's Lana's project. She received the grant, and she had approached Kristen and I to come alongside and help her develop some of these ideas. So.
And I love that you use the word of play, because I've written blogs on this. I talk to my students about vocal play, because I feel like that's something for adults that is so needed, but so underutilized. Because we don't play as grown people. And when I'm going through a vocal journey with people, and I'm thinking, okay, well, how does your mouth shape change when we're at this pitch versus that pitch versus this loudness versus that loudness? And looking at dynamics and looking, how does our body change? I feel like you have to be in tune to all of those things.
Right.
And in voice, we talk so much about posture and breathing, but we also, I don't think, step into enough the creative process of figuring out how all of it flows together.
Right. Absolutely. I think having that in any artist's own personal process is so useful, and it can be so generative, and you learn so much, but also it can be helpful in 1,000 different ways. And then in these workshops, it's been so fun to have really generous people who are just down to play, and we figure out, like, we had this idea and we thought maybe it would be interesting if we did this thing in this way and use these objects, and maybe it would like start to tell story, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And it's like, when we find out more things in an evening that don't work than the ones that do, like, it can feel a little bit like, dang, that was a little bit of a bummer. But I'm so grateful for the people who are down to play, and you don't know unless you try it.
Do you think that a lot of people kind of struggle to look stupid? Because I feel like that's part of the play. You have to be okay with being vulnerable and maybe doing something that could be embarrassing to figure it out.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think so. And I feel like I have learned about that in just helping create and lead these workshops, because usually going into like a standard rehearsal process, I'm using tools that I know are going to work. I'm, have a really good idea of what I'm trying to accomplish in this given amount of time. And there may be some experimentation and some play, but mostly I know what I'm doing and where I'm going. And I always try to create a lot of space for the actors and the people participating to bring their ideas. But in general, like, I'm not just like throwing things at the wall to see if they work, which has been much more the tone of this summer. And it's been so fascinating, because it's like, we come with these ideas, and we've been very upfront with the people coming, like, we don't know what is going to work and what isn't. So that's helpful, right? Because we've set the expectation as, if you want to come, we're just going to play, and some of this might not work and some of it will, but we're just here to figure it out. And so that feels helpful. And just being in a room with people who are really generous and down to do that together. But yeah, I think learning how to just let go of that and be like, it might work and it might not. But that's okay. It can be hard.
And it's letting go of that control. And I have definitely had sessions with clients where I have a specific thing in mind. Like, I'm so task mastering. I want the note to be good. We've got to look at the goals.
Right.
Every time I have done that, if it's with someone at the hospital, the nursing home, singing, it doesn't matter who it is. It is typically a disaster because I feel like my job is to basically just facilitate and react to whatever they give me.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're doing the same. You're like, okay, we don't know how this is going to turn out. And I'll tell my clients, I don't have a plan. And it's not that I don't have a plan in the way of I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
But I try to let their energy or their problem that day or what they feel like might be useful.
Definitely.
And even if I end up molding a little bit and then it goes into another direction and maybe it winds up back to what my intention was because they're coming to me for that professionalism. They don't always know exactly what they need, but they certainly know the feeling of what they're having in the moment or what's troubling them. And then moving with them through that journey.
Yeah.
So that it feels like they have a little bit more control and they have a little bit more invested in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I care a lot about leading rooms in a theater sense from that place, and also in doing therapy too. But I do feel like my job as a director is to have vision and cast vision with Kristen. Often we mostly direct together. And to have a really good framework for what we're doing and to lead people in that direction. But how we get there, how that's fleshed out in the details, how they are creating material, because we often create new shows from, there's a lot of physicality to them. And then we layer text on top of that. But what the actors bring to the room, we don't know, but we need to be able to guide them and facilitate that well. And then, edit and adjust so that it becomes cohesive. But, I love having other people in the room and collaborators to do, if directing was like a dictatorship, I wouldn't, and some people do that and they have a vision and they want it to be a certain way. And God bless them. That's okay. There's a lot of ways to do a lot of things, including directing, but that doesn't feel appealing to me. And that's not the way that I like to work, because
Agreed.
I think the collective mind of every individual in the room is going to be way smarter than anything I would come up with myself. So it excites me to have all the different people bringing their ideas.
I love it. I love it. So when is this show? Because you're going to do a show, it's going to have an actual run date. When abouts do you feel like that's going to be? And is this going to be at Belmont? Where is this actually going to be?
This one is actually at Vanderbilt. The
Vanderbilt,
grant is from Vanderbilt. Lana is a PhD student, and she's getting her PhD in generally theater education, but you can talk to her. It's much cooler than just what theater.
There's more complicated words.
It's
that I don't
many
understand.
Complicated words.
Yeah.
Super awesome. And she has a theater background as well. So, it's going to be at Vanderbilt on September 12th and 13th, I think.
And open to the public. So if we wanted to get tickets, attend,
absolutely,
all of the things. Okay.
Yeah.
Putting it down. I've been an absolute dud with coming to any rehearsals, but the show I would like to attend.
You're welcome.
Very least.
You're welcome.
Perfect. Okay. I would like to do some what we call lightning round type of questions, which I wrote them down. I'm going to look at them. Okay. So what is your favorite role that you've ever played?
I can't answer that question.
Are there many?
Yeah.
Are there multiple?
Yeah. It's hard to pick a favorite. I think the favorites are favorites for different reasons. One of the most challenging roles I ever played that felt really rewarding was the role of woman in a play called Lungs. And it's just a 2-person play. It's a man and a woman, and they're kind of working out what it is to have children or not have children in today's world and the
Wow.
pros and cons, and talking about like global warming and just like all of the world and wars and everything, and like, is it responsible for educated people, caring, moral people to bring children into this world or not? So it deals with a lot of those types of questions.
I think you just described me and Tyler on a random Tuesday.
Well.
Like that's, you just described this house on a random Tuesday is what that is.
Yeah.
That's fascinating though. I'm
Yeah.
always so fascinated by the 2-person, like one setting or like one man show type of things, because I feel like the content has to be so good to otherwise be so minimal.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other favorites?
I did a modern adaptation of an old Sophocles play, Antigone.
Ooh.
And that was really fun. And when I was a freshman in college, I got to play Michael Darling in Peter Pan, and that was just a blast. Like, it was just, it's one of the favorites because it was just so fun. And I just played, and I got to play a little boy. And
how are you not Peter Pan? Because I know a female often plays that role too. I could see you as Peter Pan.
Yeah, a wonderful sophomore played that role. She was great. We ended up being roommates later, and she did fantastic.
So we don't hate her. We like her.
No, we love her. We love her. She did so great. She was honestly probably a better Peter Pan than I would have been. But I got to play Michael.
Did she get to fly?
Oh, we all flew. We all flew, which is why it was so fun. One of the reasons.
That is, you know how often people go the question like, oh, if you had one superhero thing, what could you do? Mine would be flying.
Oh, 1,000%.
Definitely be flying.
Yeah.
I love that so much. Okay. Dream performance space.
Okay, you sent me this question and I don't know.
In the attempt to be like, okay, I don't want to like totally take you off guard and not stutter step through the podcast, right? Yeah. But I love still that like element of surprise. You're like, I have no idea.
I have no idea. I think I'll answer very vaguely. I would love to do something on the West End in London.
Ooh.
That's a dream.
Why the West End in London?
Because it's kind of like Broadway, but
it's just like legendary.
British.
It's British Broadway.
Yeah, it's amazing. Everything there is wonderful. The theater in London is wonderful. I would love to live there if I could. And so, doing anything near the West End would be a dream.
Do you think there will ever be a day where you will take that big move and like suddenly you're in London?
If I had a visa that would allow me to work, then yes.
Okay.
But they're difficult to come by.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
The government gets us once again.
Yeah.
Okay. Actor or artist you'd love to collaborate with?
You know, you would think I didn't
other
read
than
these
me.
questions.
Other than me.
Yes, you, of course. I don't know. I think, okay, I'm going to answer this question in like a sideways kind of way. I think people who are really interested in process, people who are really curious, people who are really generous of self and outside the box thinkers.
So you're taking applications.
The types of people I like to work with.
Okay.
You know, anyone who fits that mold, like I'm excited to collaborate.
Okay. I love that. I love this question.
Okay.
One thing you wish every performer knew about their body. Oh my God, I love that. That's such a great question.
It is a good question. Did you write
It's
that
almost
question?
like I came up with it.
Yeah.
I love this great question I've come up with.
That's amazing.
I know.
I think, okay, this is not just for performers and artists, but in general, and also for performers and artists, I think that your body is extremely intelligent, and your body wants to work with you to do the things that you want to do.
Okay.
If
you let it, like if you let it kind of thing.
Yeah, it's on your side and it needs help sometimes and it needs, coaching and guiding and training. But the body is an amazing, miraculous, wonderful thing. I can get so nerdy about it.
That's the physical therapy part. I mean,
it's all the parts. It's all the parts.
It makes
just
sense.
Excited about the human body and like paying attention to it and listening to it because it gives us signals and it communicates with us all the time.
If we
and
listen.
If we listen.
If you just shut up and listen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. I feel like one of the first things that I'll guide someone through in a voice setting is just being aware of their breath.
Yeah.
And explaining the anatomy of what it does.
Yeah.
And I was working with a client yesterday, and sometimes I tell him something that is maybe brand new, but maybe it's not.
Yeah.
And often I'll get the response of, I've heard that before, kind of, but never explained that way.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where the therapist voice part of me makes sense, because I might go a little bit more into the weeds about anatomy than your average singing, performing teacher.
Yeah.
But I have found, because the fear is always, oh, I don't want this to be too over someone's head if that's not their understanding. But I really do try to put it as layman's as possible. And sometimes you're doing the same thing in the hospital, working with a patient, in a way that is easily enough understood.
Yeah.
And especially for me, working on the patient side with so many people with cognitive disorders, it has nothing to do with intelligence, but you have to change your language so that anyone on any level, even if it's a child age level, can understand it.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of us are pressured to feel so smart in our presentation that we want to use all the big words and all the hard words and all of these big things. But that's not the thing that works.
Right.
You can still get into the weeds with someone without being so jargony.
Right.
But it can really help them tap into what their body is doing, needs to do, needs to change.
Right. Well, I also really think that a mark of a skilled clinician or person or expert in some field, fill in the blank, is being able to translate those things so that just the average person who's not an expert in your field can understand them. If we get really excited and comfortable and like, I know all these fancy words, but you can't explain it to someone who doesn't, then I don't know. Like, and there is a teaching skill that can be developed in that as well. But I don't know. I think that people who do that well often are even more skilled in that area.
Yeah. And I think in the arts realm with voice, from the more purely arts realm without understanding the background of the anatomy, I'll find that I've come across many people that will describe the voice as like, oh, a feather or a color. And it tends to be very figurative in its language. But that doesn't always help.
Right.
I think it can.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we need to give more credit to people understanding the inner workings of their body.
And I think in general, and maybe the good people out there will tell me I'm wrong, and that's okay. But I have found in my experience, people like to understand how their bodies work.
Yes.
And if you can explain it in a way that's not using all the jargon and words that people don't know, they want to know. They actually care about it, and they think it's really cool. And it makes so much more meaning when I'm having you do this specific exercise and you don't understand why. But when I tell you like, hey, this is the muscle that's going to help you stand up straight so that you can learn to walk again. Now they want to do that exercise. Now they're invested, and it totally changes your relationship to the work, but also to your own body. And I think our bodies are just so wonderful and so valuable. And I don't know. I'm of the belief, why wouldn't we want to know about them? We walk around in them every single day. So that's my thought about it.
100%. 100%. I feel like I have learned so much from this conversation.
That's awesome. Me too.
Yay. Fun. Yeah. I know. That's what podcasting's all about.
I love it.
Talking and learning.
I love it.
My two favorite things to do.
Good stuff. Yeah.
I love it. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the good people before we wrap?
I don't think so.
I feel like we covered a lot.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, we went a lot of places.
We did. Yeah. I loved every second of it. I'm so happy that you could be here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And again, I don't think we announced this. We are sitting in a very hot lit studio right now because not only are we in Nashville, Tennessee, and it's like 90 degrees outside, and Brittany came here in a torrential downpour of a rain to get to our studio today. But our air conditioning is also unfortunately out. So we are in the hottest room of the house. So if you're watching on YouTube and we look a little more dewy than normal, we're actually sweating to death. I just would like to announce that. We're not normally this sweaty, but it's sticky. But I loved it.
That's okay.
I love it. Well, you've been listening to The Good, the Bad, and the Music. I am your host, Bri.worek, and my guest today has been
Brittany Reese.
Brittany Reese. That's you. Love it. Thanks for listening.